"You should turn your camera back on," Naomi Carter said. Her voice, so calm it seemed to make the rain fall quieter. Officer Grant Whitmore stood 10 feet away beneath the harsh white light of a nearly empty shopping center parking lot. One hand raised toward her, the other gripping the authority he believed no one could question. Red and blue lights rolled across the wet pavement, painting the storefront windows in restless color. Naomi kept both hands visible. In her left palm rested a leather credential case, open wide enough for him to see the gold FBI badge and the identification card beside it. Whitmore stared at the badge for half a second. Then he laughed. It was not the laugh of a man who had found something funny. It was the laugh of someone who had already decided the truth did not matter. "You expect me to believe that?" he asked. Naomi did not answer immediately. Her eyes moved from his face to the small camera clipped to the center of his uniform. The red recording light was dark. Behind him, Officer Emily Parker stood beside the patrol car, her expression caught somewhere between confusion and concern. She had been on the force for less than 2 years. Long enough to recognize procedure. Not long enough to understand why Whitmore had abandoned it. Rain tapped against the hood of Naomi's sedan. Somewhere beyond the closed stores, an engine idled with its headlights off. Whitmore did not notice it. He did not notice the nearly invisible wire beneath Naomi's collar, either. He saw only a black woman standing beside an expensive car after midnight, holding a badge he had already chosen to call fake. "Set it on the ground," he ordered. Naomi held his gaze. "My name is Special Agent Naomi Carter. My badge number is 7416. Contact Federal Dispatch and verify it." The words were clear, professional, designed to give him an exit. Whitmore refused to take it. He stepped closer, his smile thinning as if her composure offended him more than anger ever could. "Anybody can memorize a number," he said. Parker shifted her weight. "Grant, maybe we should call it in." He turned his head just enough to silence her with a look. That small gesture told Naomi more than his words had. This was not the first time someone had questioned him. It was simply the first time the question had been heard by the right people. Imagine standing there while a man in uniform decides that your proof is meaningless because accepting it would require him to admit he was wrong. Imagine knowing that one careless movement could turn a misunderstanding into something far worse. Naomi knew. That was why she remained still. That was why her breathing stayed measured. And that was why, when Whitmore ordered Parker to reach for her handcuffs, Naomi did not resist. She looked once toward the dark camera on his chest and repeated, "Turn it back on." Whitmore gave another quiet laugh. He believed the night belonged to him. He believed the empty parking lot was silent. He believed no one important was watching. He was wrong about all three. 120 seconds remained before the badge in Naomi's hand was verified. The hidden radios came alive, and the authority Whitmore had used so carelessly turned toward him instead. 20 minutes earlier, Naomi Carter had turned off Briarwood Avenue and entered the rear parking lot of an abandoned shopping center where half the storefront signs had been removed and the remaining letters hung crooked above dark windows. Rain drifted across the pavement in silver sheets, soft enough to blur the streetlights, but steady enough to keep most people indoors. Naomi drove slowly past a closed pharmacy, a vacant furniture store, and a laundromat whose signs still glowed even though the doors were locked. She did not park beneath the brightest light. She chose a space near the edge of the lot, where she could see both entrances and the narrow service road behind the buildings. Years of federal work had taught her that safety rarely came from feeling comfortable. It came from noticing what other people ignored. She checked the rearview mirror, then the side mirrors, then the reflection in the dark glass of the storefront ahead. No pedestrians. No moving vehicles. One black sport utility vehicle sat nearly 200 feet away with its lights off, exactly where it was supposed to be. Daniel Reyes and the surveillance team were inside, listening but remaining out of sight. Naomi reached into the passenger seat and lifted a plain canvas bag. To anyone passing by, it looked ordinary. Inside was a protected evidence container, a portable scanner, and a secure transmitter no larger than a deck of cards. She was not there to make an arrest. Not yet. She was there to meet Marcus Bell, a 49-year-old records supervisor who had spent 18 years filing incident reports for the Briarwood Police Department. Marcus had contacted the Federal Bureau of Investigation after discovering that dozens of reports had been altered after officers submitted them. Times had been changed. Witness statements had disappeared. Camera footage had been marked unavailable even when internal logs proved it had existed. At first, Marcus believed the errors were administrative. Then he found the same names appearing again and again. One of them was Grant Whitmore. Naomi looked at the dashboard clock. 11:43 in the evening. Marcus was 3 minutes late. That alone did not alarm her. Fear changed the way people moved through time. It made them arrive too early, too late, or not at all. Her phone vibrated once. A message appeared from Marcus. "Someone knows I copied the files." Naomi read it twice. Her breathing remained even, but the air inside the car suddenly felt smaller. She pressed the communication switch hidden beneath her coat collar. "Reyes, confirm visual on the service road." His voice came softly through the receiver. "Nothing yet. We are holding position." Naomi typed a reply to Marcus. "Do not approach the lot. Go to the secondary location." She waited for the delivery confirmation. It never appeared. A drop of rain slid down the windshield like a slow-moving crack. Naomi watched it reach the bottom of the glass, then placed the phone face down. The operation had changed. The evidence might still be nearby, but Marcus could already be compromised. She stepped out of the sedan and closed the door without locking it. The canvas bag remained on the passenger floor, hidden beneath a gray coat. Cold rain touched her hair and shoulders as she moved toward the service road. Each step measured, each sense alert. Then white headlights appeared behind her. A patrol car entered the lot too quickly for someone performing a routine check. It turned across 2 empty lanes and stopped at an angle behind Naomi's sedan, blocking the clearest exit. Red and blue lights began to pulse across the wet storefronts. Naomi did not reach for her credentials. She did not move toward the car. She simply turned, raised her empty hands where they could be seen, and watched Officer Grant Whitmore step into the ring. Officer Grant Whitmore closed the patrol car door and stood beneath the rotating lights, as if the entire parking lot had been waiting for him to arrive. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried himself with the confidence of a man who believed questions were for other people. Rain darkened the shoulders of his uniform, but he did not seem to notice. His attention was fixed on Naomi, not on her empty hands, not on the distance she had kept from the vehicle. On her. A second officer stepped out from the passenger side. Emily Parker looked younger, perhaps in her late 20s, with careful eyes that moved between Naomi, the sedan, and Whitmore. She reached for the radio clipped near her shoulder, but Whitmore lifted one hand without looking back. The gesture was small. Parker stopped. "Turn around and place your hands on the hood," Whitmore said. Naomi remained where she was. Her hands were still raised, her voice calm. "Officer, what is the reason for the stop?" He stared at her as though the question itself proved guilt. "I gave you an instruction, and I am asking what crime you are investigating." The rain filled the silence between them. A loose sign above the empty furniture store creaked in the wind. Whitmore glanced at Naomi's car, then back at her face. "Vehicle like this, parked behind closed businesses after midnight. You expect me not to ask questions?" "You may ask questions," Naomi said. "You may also explain why I am being detained." Parker looked toward the rear license plate and quietly read it into her radio, but Whitmore turned sharply. "Not yet." Naomi noticed that. She noticed everything. The officer had arrived without announcing the contact. He had blocked the clearest exit. Now he was stopping his partner from running a basic plate check. None of those choices happened by accident. Whitmore moved closer, boots sending thin ripples through the rainwater. "Whose car is this?" "The registered owner is available through dispatch." "I asked you. Then you should already know why you stopped me." His jaw tightened. Some people heard calmness and recognized discipline. Whitmore heard it as defiance. "People around here have been reporting suspicious activity," he said. "Break-ins, drug deals, stolen vehicles. Which report matches me?" Naomi asked. Parker lowered her eyes for a moment. Whitmore did not. "You are standing behind a closed shopping center with no good reason." "You have not asked for my reason." That landed harder than anger would have. Whitmore looked past her toward the sedan and noticed the gray coat covering the canvas bag on the passenger floor. His attention sharpened. "What is inside the vehicle?" "Personal property. Step away from it." Naomi took one measured step to the side. She was cooperating, but not surrendering the truth. The difference mattered. Whitmore approached the driver's door and tested the handle. It opened. Naomi had left it unlocked for the operation. To Whitmore, it looked like permission. I do not consent to a search, she said. He paused, then gave a faint smile. You seem very familiar with procedure. I am familiar with the Constitution. Parker looked at him now, waiting for the legal reason that should have come next. It did not. Whitmore leaned toward the open door and saw the corner of the canvas bag beneath the coat. At that same moment, Naomi heard a soft click in her hidden receiver. Daniel Reyes was still listening. The surveillance team had heard every word. Whitmore reached toward the bag, then stopped and looked back at Naomi. What are you hiding? He asked. Naomi held his gaze. The better question is why you are so afraid to verify who I am. For the first time, his expression changed. Not into doubt, into recognition. His right hand drifted closer to his duty belt, and Officer Emily Parker whispered the words Naomi had already understood. Grant, something is wrong here. Emily Parker's warning disappeared beneath the rain, but Grant Whitmore heard it. His shoulders stiffened, and for one brief second Naomi thought caution might reach him before pride did. It did not. He turned away from the open car door and faced Parker with the slow irritation of a man who believed disagreement was disloyalty. Nothing is wrong, he said. She is refusing to cooperate. Naomi kept her hands visible and her voice even. I have answered every lawful question you asked. Whitmore looked back at her. You have avoided every simple one. No, Naomi replied. I have asked you to explain the reason for this detention. The distinction hung in the air between them. Parker understood it. Her eyes moved toward the camera mounted on Whitmore's chest. The small red light was still glowing. She seemed relieved by that, as though the recording itself could keep the moment from becoming something worse. Whitmore noticed where she was looking. His expression hardened. He reached to the center of his uniform and pressed the camera button. The red light went dark. The rain suddenly sounded louder. Naomi watched the movement without changing her posture, but inside, every detail became sharper. The time, the location, the officer's words, the deliberate decision to remove an official witness. Beneath her collar, the secure transmitter continued sending every sound to Daniel Reyes and the team waiting nearly 200 feet away. Whitmore thought he had created silence. He had only changed who was listening. Turn it back on, Naomi said. He gave her a flat stare. You do not give orders here. Then consider it a reminder of department policy. Parker drew a breath. Grant, she is right. We should keep the cameras running. He ignored her and pointed toward the sedan. Open the bag. No, Naomi's answer was quiet, immediate, and complete. Whitmore stepped toward her. That bag is sitting inside a vehicle at a suspicious location. You are going to show me what is in it. You do not have consent, and you have not stated probable cause. You expect me to believe you are standing here alone for no reason? I am not required to invent a crime for you. Parker looked away, but not before Naomi saw discomfort cross her face. This was the moment when people often chose safety over truth. They told themselves they had not seen enough. They waited for someone with more authority to act first. Naomi had spent years investigating what happened after those choices. Whitmore walked to the passenger's side and pulled the gray coat away from the canvas bag. The secure transmitter inside continued blinking beneath the fabric. He did not see it, but his attention fixed on the heavy shape of the evidence container. What is this? He demanded. Step away from the vehicle, Naomi said. Now you are nervous, he answered, almost pleased. That tells me more than anything else you have said. Naomi looked past him toward Parker. Officer Parker, has he given you a lawful basis for this search? Parker's lips parted, but Whitmore answered for her. She does not need to explain anything to you. She may have to explain it later. The sentence changed the air. Whitmore froze with one hand near the bag. He studied Naomi more carefully now, as if trying to fit her calm expression into a story he could control. Who are you? He asked. Naomi could have revealed everything then. She could have reached slowly for her credentials and ended the uncertainty. But Marcus Bell was still missing, the files were still at risk, and Whitmore's reaction had already exposed more than she expected. She needed to know how far he would go when he believed no one important was watching. Verify the license plate, she said. Call your supervisor. Turn your camera back on. You still have choices. Whitmore stood beneath the flashing lights, rain running from the edge of his cap, and smiled without warmth. I already made my choice. His hand moved away from the bag and toward his duty belt. Parker took one step back. Naomi remained still. Somewhere inside the dark sport utility vehicle across the lot, Daniel Reyes gave the quiet command that changed the operation. All units, prepare to move. Whitmore's hand stopped at his duty belt, and the parking lot seemed to narrow around the three of them. Naomi heard Daniel Reyes through the receiver beneath her collar, but she did not answer. Any visible reaction could force the team to move before she understood exactly what Whitmore intended to do. Parker watched him carefully. "Grant," she said, "let us slow this down." He did not look at her. "She has something in that bag, and she is interfering with an investigation." Naomi's eyes remained on his face. "There is no investigation until you can identify a crime." Whitmore gave a short laugh. "You really think you can stand here and lecture me? I think you are making decisions that will follow you for the rest of your career." The words were not a threat. They were an opportunity. He could still step back. He could reactivate his camera, verify the plate, call a supervisor, and turn a dangerous moment into an embarrassing misunderstanding. Instead, he chose pride. His hand moved, and his service weapon came free from its holster. He kept it pointed downward at first, but the meaning was unmistakable. Parker went still. The red and blue lights continued moving across the wet pavement, bright and mechanical, as if the patrol car had no understanding of what its owner had just done. Naomi raised her hands slightly higher. Her breathing stayed slow. "Officer Whitmore, I am reaching for federal credentials inside my coat. Do you understand?" "Do not move," he said. "Then tell me how you intend to verify my identity." He hesitated. That hesitation lasted less than a second, but Naomi recognized it. He did not want verification. Verification could prove him wrong. "Use your left hand," he finally said. Slowly, Naomi followed the instruction exactly. She reached inside her coat, removed a dark leather credential case, and opened it with 2 fingers. The gold seal caught the patrol lights. Her photograph, agency name, and badge number were clearly visible. "Special Agent Naomi Carter," she said. "Federal Bureau of Investigation. Civil Rights Division. Badge number 7416. Contact Federal Dispatch." Whitmore stared at the credentials. Parker leaned forward, her expression changing as she read the identification. For one quiet moment, reason had another chance to enter the scene. Then Whitmore laughed. It was small at first, almost disbelieving, but it grew into the careless sound of a man protecting his certainty. "You expect me to believe that?" Naomi did not lower the badge. "I expect you to verify it. People buy fake credentials online every day. Then verification should be easy." Parker stepped closer to the patrol car. "I can call it in." Whitmore turned toward her. "You are not calling anyone." That sentence told Parker what Naomi already knew. This was no longer about suspicion. It was about control. Whitmore reached out and motioned toward the pavement. "Put the badge down." Naomi held his gaze. "My credentials should remain in my possession." "Put it down." The rain ran across the leather case and gathered along the gold edge. Naomi lowered her hand and placed the credentials carefully on the wet pavement. Whitmore looked at the badge near his boots, then back at her, wearing the faint smile of someone who believed he had reduced the truth to an object on the ground. "Officer Parker," he said, "place her in handcuffs for impersonating a federal agent." Parker did not move. "Grant, we have not verified anything." "That is an order." Naomi looked at Parker, not with fear, but with steady recognition. "Read the badge number over the radio," she said. Whitmore's expression tightened. "She is not giving you instructions." Parker's hand hovered near the microphone on her shoulder. Somewhere across the parking lot, the dark sport utility vehicle remained still. Inside it, Daniel Reyes watched the time on his screen. The moment Whitmore raised his weapon, the secure system had marked the event. 0 minutes. 0 seconds. The countdown had begun. Parker's hand remained near the radio microphone while Whitmore waited for obedience. Rain collected along the edge of her sleeve and fell from her fingertips, but she did not seem to notice. Her attention moved from Naomi's credentials on the pavement to Whitmore's dark camera light, then to the weapon held low at his side. Every lesson from the academy told her what procedure required. Verify the identity. Keep the camera active. Request a supervisor. Preserve the scene. Yet standing beside Whitmore, those rules felt less like instructions and more like a test of whether she still believed them. "Officer Parker," Naomi said, her voice steady. "Read the number exactly as it appears." Whitmore stepped between them. "Do not touch that radio." Parker looked at him. "Why not?" The question was quiet, but it changed everything. Whitmore had expected hesitation. He had expected fear. He had not expected resistance from someone wearing the same uniform. "Because I am handling this," he said. "You are making it worse. Then verification will clear it up." I said no. Naomi watched Parker's face and saw the moment uncertainty became understanding. Whitmore was not afraid that the credentials were fake. He was afraid they were real. Parker lifted the microphone. Whitmore moved toward her, but Naomi spoke before he could reach it. "Federal badge number 7416. Special Agent Naomi Carter, Civil Rights Division." Parker pressed the transmission button. "Dispatch, confirm federal credentials for Naomi Carter, badge number 7416. Static answered first, then silence. Whitmore's expression tightened as the seconds passed. He looked toward Naomi's sedan, toward the canvas bag, and then across the empty lot as if darkness itself had betrayed him. 22 seconds had passed since he drew his weapon. "Cancel that request," he said. Parker kept the microphone raised. "Dispatch, did you copy?" A voice responded through the radio, faint beneath the rain. "Unit 12, stand by for confirmation." Whitmore reached for the microphone on his own shoulder and switched channels. "She is interfering with an active investigation," he said. "Requesting immediate transport." No dispatcher answered him. Naomi understood why. Daniel Reyes had already contacted the communications supervisor and opened a protected federal channel. The patrol frequency was no longer Whitmore's private stage. Every word was being recorded by people he could not order into silence. 46 seconds. Whitmore looked at Naomi. "Where is your partner? You should be asking where your supervisor is. You think someone is coming to save you." "No," Naomi said. "I think someone is coming to preserve evidence." The answer stripped the confidence from his smile. Parker heard it too. She glanced toward the body camera on her own uniform. Its red light was still on. Without speaking, she adjusted her stance so the camera captured Naomi, the credentials on the ground, Whitmore, and the open passenger door. It was a small movement, almost invisible. It was also the first honest record the department had created that night. 59 seconds. The radio crackled again. "Unit 12, federal identity confirmed. Naomi Carter is an active special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Do not detain. Repeat, do not detain." The words settled over the parking lot with more force than any shout. Parker lowered her microphone slowly. Whitmore did not move. For several seconds, he simply stared at Naomi as though the truth had become another offense. Then he looked down at the badge near his boots. "That does not explain why she is here," he said. "It explains why you should step away," Parker replied. Her voice no longer trembled. Whitmore turned toward her, shocked by the firmness in it. Behind them, the canvas bag inside Naomi's car emitted a soft electronic tone. The secure evidence system had completed its upload. Every copied report, every altered timestamp, and every missing video log was now stored on a federal server beyond Whitmore's reach. 1 minute and 18 seconds. Naomi saw headlights appear at the far entrance. Not one vehicle. 3. They moved without sirens. Black shapes advancing through the rain with controlled purpose. Whitmore finally noticed them. His confidence did not disappear all at once. It cracked slowly, beginning in his eyes. "What did you do?" he asked. Naomi looked at the dark camera on his chest. "I gave you every chance to turn it back on." The 3 black sport utility vehicles entered the parking lot in a straight line and stopped 30 feet from the patrol car. Their doors opened almost at once. Federal agents stepped into the rain wearing dark jackets marked with the full name of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. No one shouted. No one rushed. Their calm made the moment feel even more final. Daniel Reyes emerged from the lead vehicle and walked toward Naomi with his hands visible. "Special Agent Carter, are you safe?" he asked. "I am unharmed," Naomi replied. "Officer Whitmore displayed his service weapon, refused to verify my credentials, disabled his body camera, and attempted to access protected evidence." 1 minute and 31 seconds. Whitmore looked from Naomi to Reyes, then toward the other agents spreading across the lot. "This is a misunderstanding," he said. "I responded to suspicious activity and followed procedure." Parker stared at the dark light on his camera. "You turned off the recording," she said. "You stopped me from contacting dispatch." Whitmore ignored her. She never explained why she was here. Reyes stopped beside Naomi's credentials, which still rested on the wet pavement. He picked them up carefully and returned them to her. She was here because this location was part of a federal investigation, he said. Whitmore's face changed. The confidence did not vanish. It searched for somewhere else to stand. Investigation into what? Reyes looked toward the canvas bag inside Naomi's sedan. Altered reports. Missing camera files. Witness intimidation. Evidence removed from active cases. 1 minute and 42 seconds. 2 agents approached Whitmore, remaining several feet away. Reyes continued, his voice measured. For 4 months, our office has reviewed complaints connected to the Briarwood Police Department. The same officer name appeared in multiple reports that had been changed after submission. Parker slowly turned toward Whitmore. He did not ask whose name. That silence answered the question for her. Naomi watched him understand the truth in layers. The meeting with Marcus Bell had not brought him into a random encounter. The files in the bag were not merely documents he could inspect and dismiss. The woman he had detained was not waiting to be rescued. She had been gathering evidence while he spoke. Whitmore looked across the lot toward the service road. "Where is Bell?" he asked. Reyes did not respond immediately. Naomi did. "That question is now part of the investigation." 1 minute and 51 seconds. Whitmore took a step back, then stopped when Parker moved away from his side. She removed her radio microphone and held it toward Reyes. "My camera recorded the contact," she said. "Dispatch also received the credential request." Whitmore turned on her. "Emily, think carefully." Parker's expression held fear, but it also held something stronger. "I am thinking carefully." Reyes nodded to the 2 agents. "Officer Grant Whitmore, place your service weapon on the hood of the patrol vehicle and step away." Whitmore looked at Naomi as though she had taken something from him. She had not. Every choice that brought him here had been his own. He placed the weapon on the hood and moved back. An agent secured it while another informed him that he was being detained for obstruction of a federal investigation and interference with protected evidence. 2 minutes. The handcuffs closed around Whitmore's wrists with a quiet metallic click. The sound was smaller than the rain, smaller than the radio, smaller than the pride that had filled his voice only moments before. Yet everyone heard it. Naomi looked at the badge in her hand, then at the dark camera on his chest. He had believed turning it off would erase the truth. Instead, the silence had recorded everything. Whitmore stood between the 2 federal agents while the rain softened to a steady mist. The flashing lights no longer made him appear powerful. They only illuminated the choices he had made. "I was protecting the public," he said, looking past Daniel Reyes toward Naomi. "I saw suspicious behavior and responded the way I was trained." Naomi closed her credential case and wiped the rain from its leather surface. "Training does not require you to ignore verification," she said. "It does not require you to disable a camera or prevent your partner from contacting dispatch." Whitmore's mouth tightened. "You never told me about the operation. You were not supposed to know about it." Reyes signaled for an agent to secure the canvas bag. Another agent photographed the open car door, the body camera on Whitmore's uniform, and the place where Naomi's credentials had rested on the pavement. Every detail was recorded carefully. Justice, Naomi had learned, was rarely one dramatic moment. More often, it was a series of quiet facts preserved before anyone could bury them. Parker stood beside the patrol car with both hands wrapped around her radio. She looked shaken, but she did not turn away. "There were other times," she said. Whitmore looked at her. "Do not do this." Parker swallowed. "You told me to stop recording during a traffic stop last month. You said the camera was malfunctioning, but it was not." The parking lot became still again. Reyes faced her. "Are you willing to provide a formal statement?" Parker looked at Whitmore, then at Naomi. "Yes." Whitmore shook his head slowly. "You think they will protect you? The department will remember this." Naomi stepped closer, stopping several feet away. "That is exactly why witnesses stay silent," she said. "Not because they do not know what is right, but because someone convinces them that telling the truth will cost more than hiding it." Parker's eyes filled with uncertainty, but her voice remained firm. "I will give the statement." Reyes instructed an agent to escort her to a separate vehicle so her account could be documented without influence. Naomi then turned toward the evidence bag. The secure upload had preserved the files, but the physical drive still mattered. It contained dates, signatures, and access records connected to more than 30 altered reports. "Find Marcus Bell," she told Reyes. "Confirm every hospital, transit station, and secondary location. He may have changed routes after sending the warning." Reyes nodded and relayed the order. Whitmore watched them work, realizing that no one was celebrating his fall. No one laughed at him. No one tried to make him feel small. The absence of cruelty seemed to unsettle him more than humiliation would have. "After everything I did," he said to Naomi, "you are just going to stand there? What would you prefer?" she asked. "Revenge." He said nothing. Naomi looked toward the dark storefronts and the service road beyond them. "Revenge would make this about you and me. This is about every report that was changed, every witness who was pressured, and every person who was told that their word did not matter." An agent opened the rear door of a federal vehicle. Before Whitmore entered, he glanced at the badge in Naomi's hand. Hours earlier, he had believed authority belonged to whoever spoke the loudest. Now he understood that real authority could remain calm, follow the evidence, and still bring an entire system to account. As the vehicle pulled away, Parker's camera continued recording. The rain faded. The evidence remained. And beneath the first pale light of morning, the investigation finally began to move beyond one officer and toward everyone who had helped him believe he would never answer for his choices. 3 weeks later, morning sunlight reached through the tall windows of the federal courthouse and settled across a conference table covered with reports, transcripts, and sealed evidence folders. Naomi Carter stood at one end of the room while Daniel Reyes reviewed the final list of cases connected to the Briarwood investigation. 37 arrest reports had been altered. 11 body camera files had been improperly removed from the department system. Several witnesses had been pressured to change their statements. Grant Whitmore had not created every failure, but his actions had helped expose the structure that allowed those failures to survive. 2 supervisors were suspended pending federal review, and an independent team had begun examining every case linked to the missing records. Marcus Bell had been found safe at a bus station nearly 40 miles outside the city. After sending his warning to Naomi, he had abandoned his vehicle and followed the emergency plan she had given him weeks earlier. He now sat in a protected location, preparing to testify about the files he had copied and the names he had discovered. His decision had not made him fearless. It had simply proven that courage could exist beside fear. Emily Parker also gave a complete statement. She described the disabled cameras, the discouraged radio checks, and the quiet pressure placed on younger officers who questioned improper orders. Her testimony did not erase the moments when she had remained silent, but it marked the moment she chose to stop protecting that silence. The department placed her on administrative leave during the investigation, then offered her a position in a new accountability unit created under federal supervision. She accepted only after requesting that the unit include community representatives and independent legal observers. Naomi understood the importance of that request. Reform could not depend on one good officer replacing one bad officer. It had to create a system where truth did not require unusual bravery to survive. Later that afternoon, Naomi returned to the abandoned shopping center. The rain was gone, and the storefront windows reflected a clear blue sky. The parking lot looked smaller in daylight. Ordinary, almost harmless. She parked in the same space and walked to the place where her credentials had rested on the pavement. No mark remained there. Cars passed on Briarwood Avenue. A delivery driver unloaded boxes near the laundromat. Life had continued, as it always did, even after a night that changed so many futures. Parker arrived a few minutes later carrying a sealed copy of her recorded statement. She stood beside Naomi without speaking for a while. "I keep thinking about how close I came to doing nothing," she finally said. Naomi looked toward the road. "Doing the right thing late does not make it meaningless. Does it make it enough?" "No," Naomi answered. "That is why you keep doing it." Parker nodded slowly. There was no easy forgiveness in the words, but there was a path forward. As Naomi returned to her car, she opened the leather credential case and looked at the gold badge. Whitmore had laughed because he believed authority belonged to appearance, volume, and control. He had mistaken restraint for weakness and prejudice for instinct. In the end, the badge had not defeated him. His own decisions had. He wore authority to demand obedience. She carried truth to make authority answer for itself.